Hey folks, how are you? We'll be starting here in just a little bit. We're waiting for a couple more people to join us, but we're glad that you've made it so far. And Mark will give you maybe a little bit of a heads up. You should see on the bottom of your screen, there should be a place to do a chat. And so if you'll take some time and write any questions that you might have in that chat area, and we'll be sure to get to those chat questions towards the end of our time together. Shouldn't be more than about 30 minutes. We'll start off with a couple questions with Pam, and then we'll get you questions. Speaking of Pam, this is Pam, our Executive Director.
Hi there, everyone. Nice to see you. Well, sort of see you all. Nice for you to see us. We're happy to be here with you today. Thank you for joining us.
This is our first Fireside Chat, and the best we could do was create a Fireside Chat. So my name is John. If I forgot to introduce myself, I'm the Director of Development for the Action Center. I've been here for just a little over 2 years, and my role is to work with our fundraising, our public relations, and our marketing programs. And then Pam, what's your role here?
I am Pam Breyer, and I am the Executive Director of the Action Center, and I've also been here a little over 2 years.
Uh-oh.
That's not good. What happened? That's really strange.
You were able to hear Pam. If not, I'll hand you the mic. We'll get started here in just a couple more minutes as we wait for a couple folks to join with us on the program.
You can hear me now? So I need to put this back on then. All right, so you're still hearing me. If you didn't hear me earlier, I introduced myself. I'm Pam Breyer. I'm the Executive Director of the Action Center, and I'm very happy that you all joined us today.
This is our first Fireside Chat, so we're working out the kinks. So we appreciate you being here as we try to make sure that we get this type of a way to communicate with everyone really down and get the technical pieces working. So we really appreciate your patience. So I think I'm getting a few more minutes. We're getting our producer to say just kind of hang on for just a second. But again, if you're just joining us, we'd like you to take some time and write in the chat box below any questions that you might have for our Executive Director, Pam, or myself. We'd be happy to answer those questions. And give us about 1 more minute and we will be with you. So thank you again for being here.
I would just also add, if you're having problems hearing us or there's anything wrong with the picture, just feel free to also put that in the chat and we will do our best to address it.
All right, well, let's get this show on the road here. We want to be respectful of your time this afternoon. And so once again, my name is John Cover. I'm the Director of Development, and this is Pam Breyer, our Executive Director. And we are thrilled that you're here today. And what we would really like to do is make this as interactive as possible. So again, just take a moment, and if you have any questions for either myself or Pam, please write those in the chat box now so we can kind of get those written down and we can address any questions you might have in the next couple minutes. So, Pam?
Yeah, hello everyone again. So good to have you with us. I wanted to first start out just by saying thank you. This Fireside Chat was designed as a way to talk to our donors and tell you how much we appreciate your support now and always, particularly right now, because the need is so huge in our community and you have been so helpful to us in terms of setting us up to meet that need. So we are really grateful, and we really wanted to make sure to do this kind of in back and forth conversation with you so that we had an opportunity to show you the impact of all of the support. We want to make sure that you understand how your dollars are helping the community and help us to spread the word among your friends and connections that the Action Center is here for everyone, doing strong work during this time. We haven't stopped, we haven't taken a break, and we've really stepped up our programming to meet the demand that's happening right now. So that was the purpose of this conversation, just to let you know how we're doing that.
Great, yeah, appreciate it, and yeah, thank you very much, all of you folks. So why don't we dive right in, Pam?
Sure.
Can you share with our audience a little bit about how we've changed our service model? Let's go all the way back to March 16th, say.
Yeah.
And how have we changed our service model going forward?
Well, there have been changes across the board at the Action Center, like there have in almost every aspect of our lives these days. At the Action Center, right away, we were actually planning for our changes before the changes happened. We saw the crisis coming with COVID, and we started meeting and making plans to make sure that our services were not interrupted. So very early on in March, we switched to an outdoor service provision setup. So right now it continues, and we have all of our food distribution happening in a drive-through walk-up design, so that we are very able to safely meet the needs of our participants, to do so with fewer volunteers on hand, to have a rotation of our staff, because it's so efficient when people are driving through. We need not as many people at all to serve the actually increased numbers that are coming through. So we've kept our food distribution very safe. We've continued also to provide a lot of the kinds of supports that were happening prior to COVID. We are just doing so over the phone. So we are still providing rental use assistance and utility assistance. We're pretty recently, we were able to add our advocates back into our service provision. So they're taking calls from our participants and connecting our participants to resources in the very same way that we always did when we were inside. So I'm really happy to say that despite the fact that everything's happening in a different way, almost all of our programming is still happening. We're still serving as an address for folks to walk up and get their mail. We're still providing vouchers for showers, vouchers for IDs. There's very little that we are not able to do right now. And actually, recently we were able to bring our clothing back online too. That was sorry about my mask. That was one place that we had really halted operations, was in our clothing bank, because it's such a small space and we really didn't feel comfortable bringing people inside. So we stopped taking donations of clothing on the dock. We were only taking food and hygiene donations for a very long time. But recently we've started that donation collection up again on the dock, and we've started having appointments to meet clothing needs, because as we were getting calls from the community, that was the number one thing that people were asking for that we hadn't yet been able to bring back online. So we're really very, very happy to have that going again.
Wow, thank you. It's amazing that we've been able to keep up so many services, but in such a safe manner.
It's true, yeah.
I mean, the staff have been amazing. I think within the first couple of weeks of starting our outdoor drive-through, it snowed on us,
Yeah.
which was amazing. And now we're dealing with 90-degree weather.
Yes.
But our staff, they put on a happy face, and they serve our participants with such grace and with great mercy, and just in a non-judgmental way as people drive through. We greet them. So it's pretty amazing we've been keeping up with that.
Not only that, I realized I didn't mention, John, that while we had to cancel our Beautiful Junk fundraising event, which is a shame, we've had to cancel two of them actually, the one for the spring and the one that was coming up this fall. We have been able to continue with the other events that are serving our participants. So we are going ahead with our school distribution that's coming up later in August. And we're also going ahead, of course, with our Thanksgiving distribution that'll happen obviously around Thanksgiving. So we're doing our very best to continue to meet the needs in all ways.
Great, yeah. I'm kind of a numbers guy, so can we dig a little deeper into maybe the statistics?
Sure.
Help our audience kind of understand, since we started this outdoor and started COVID situation, how many people have we served and what have we been doing in that lane?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So, John, in a typical year at the Action Center, we are serving about 20,000 individuals across the entire year. So, think about this. Just since March, we have seen for food over 10,000 folks coming through our drive-through or walk-up distribution line for food. Over 10,000 just since March alone. That's 35,000 people just in the last few months. So when you compare that to our annual
Right.
Numbers of serving typically about 20,000 in the whole year, that really tells you what's happening here. And we know that over 30% of those folks coming through for help right now are brand new to the Action Center. So that gives you a sense of the need out there in the community. There are people that are having to ask for help that have never had to ask for help before. They've never been to the Action Center. A lot of them, when they come through, they're almost apologizing for having to be here and to ask for help. And we're, really very quickly saying, no, please don't apologize. That's why we're here. Actually, we'd like you to tell your friends and neighbors who also might be struggling that we're here for them right now. So it's been a really strong push to get that message out because we know the need is so great.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, 10,000 households. I mean, that's hard to even, I think, wrap your head around 10,000 households.
Yeah,
are coming
and
through.
yesterday alone, we reached a record number. We had 170 come through just in one day yesterday.
Wow. And so is that
So-
car and walk-up? or just
Yeah,
cars?
that's a combination of car and walk-up. And we're also doing, with partners in the community, we're able to do home delivery to those who can't get to the Action Center. So in addition to that 170, there were another 30 that we delivered food right to the doorstep with a partnership with Benefits and Actions and some other partners that are helping us to get food out into the community. The other thing that we've done, we've actually expanded some of our services, not just maintained what the Action Center was doing, but the delivery is an expansion. We've also, in partnership with Food Bank of the Rockies and the Jeffco Public Schools, we have served the school-based grab and go sites. So we are bringing FDA food boxes to 6 schools every week. And we're serving several hundred more families through that effort. We also added a Head Start program in Arvada this past week. So we'll be continuing to bring fresh produce in large boxes to families at that Head Start or in the community of that Head Start. So we're looking for more and more ways to partner and more ways to use the strength of the Action Center to get out there and meet the need in the community.
Right. You mentioned earlier in your comments that we're doing rent and utility assistance.
Yes.
Can you talk to us a little bit more about the demand that we're seeing along the lines of people coming to us for rental assistance? I mean, how many folks are reaching out to us and how many folks are we actually able to help? And what are the needs around those areas?
Right. Well, that's a really good question. So the rental and mortgage assistance lines are just ringing off the hook. We've had over 1,000 people reach out to us asking us for help with rental assistance. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to meet that huge demand because it's all dependent on what kind of funding we have and what kind of grant resources we have for rental assistance. But we have made over $343,000 of rental payments out into the community, representing about 211 payments that have gone out just since March. And again, to compare it to a typical year, in a typical year, we spend about $75,000 on rental assistance and serve about 57 households. That's in a whole year. So just since March, we're comparing that $343,000 number to the $75,000 in a whole year. That's typical for us. So you can see again that the need is huge right now. And the Action Center is doing all we can with all of the resources that are coming to us to get the dollars in the hands of those who really need it and to keep people housed. That's what's so critical right now. Homelessness is already an enormous problem, was already an enormous problem before COVID. And so we are really concerned that with the challenges of COVID, with the unemployment rate spiking, that we are going to see huge numbers of people displaced and losing their housing. So our intention is to bring in as much grant funding as possible or individual donations. We've actually gotten some individuals who have helped and contributed to our rent assistance dollars and given us really flexible funding to help people who aren't qualifying for the other grants. And so we're doing our best to get that money in the hands of those who need it and keep folks housed right now. So lots and lots of need.
Amazing stuff. Before we start answering some of your questions, I just have one more thing I want to ask you. I know you don't have a crystal ball. I get that they don't exist. But as you look towards the current future and maybe even the foreseeable future, do you have any sense of how we're going to continue to respond to these needs as we look forward?
Well, we know, John, that our numbers are so high right now in terms of those coming to us for help that it isn't safe for us to even begin to think about moving back inside. The numbers that we're seeing right now are so beyond the numbers that we would see in a typical day inside the Action Center. So as I said, we had 170 people come through just for food yesterday. And in a typical day at the Action Center prior to COVID, we were usually seeing about 60, 70 households a day. And that was about, what the traffic flow and the volunteers that were present at the Action Center and the staff could handle. Right now, we still have lower numbers of volunteers because many of our volunteers are older and they're staying home as they should to stay safe. So both in terms of safety of folks coming into the building and keeping everyone safe from passing the virus. Also in terms of our volunteer support, we don't see any way really anytime soon to get the building back open. So for this foreseeable future, we're going to continue to be creative. We're going to continue to meet the needs as much as possible outdoors or over the phone or over the computer, and continue to make sure that we're there, but that we're doing so in a very, very safe way. So I don't actually see things changing through the winter, and we're looking right now for some ways to continue our operations outside even as it gets cold. So we're looking at some tunnels and some, heated spaces to keep our folks warm as we continue to deliver services.
Right. We're gonna have to get our staff some nice jackets.
Jackets and mittens and gloves and
the works. So
absolutely, it's going to be cold.
Yeah, interesting times we're in.
Very, very challenging, but we're just so gratified that we've had such support from the community that we've been able so far to keep things going here. We do know that this week we've really felt an impact on our food supply. Where our shelves are getting bare because we never anticipated 170 households in one day.
Yeah.
And so, even though we have our food rescue program still happening, we're getting food from the groceries that would otherwise end up in a dumpster. That's still happening, but it just can't keep up with this pace. So we're looking into spending more money on food and trying to expand our food rescue if we can.
Yeah, real challenging times. Well, listen, I think we've got some questions that have come in from you, so we're really excited about looking at these. And so the first one is coming from Connie.
Great.
And Connie is asking, where is the money coming from to cover the massive rent assistance dollars compared to what we typically get last year?
Oh, that's a really good question. So fortunately, CARES Act dollars have gone out across the country and have come to Colorado. And through many of those CARES Act dollars have come to organizations like the Action Center. So we've gotten additional grant support above and beyond what we typically get from the county, from the individual cities. So for example, we have a Lakewood rent assistance grant. We have one for Arvada. We have several that have come that are county-wide grants. And We also have individuals, as I mentioned earlier, who have donated dollars for rent assistance because they know that the grants that we get have stipulations and do leave some people out. We also have DOLA funding, which is another state funding source for rental assistance. But all of those combined are helping us to meet the needs across the county right now, and they have different timelines. So when one timeline ends, we, have the other dollars waiting to come in beyond that. We will need more. Right now we are okay, but we are, thinking into the future because we know this need is going to continue probably through the year and beyond. So we're really hoping that the resources keep coming. After CARES Act dollars run out, we're not really sure what will happen. So it is something we're thinking a lot about, John, and we're worried about.
Right. Yeah, it's not going to go away. I mean, certainly people are starting to go back to work, and that's great. But there's still millions of people across our country that are they're out of work.
Yeah.
And so Jefferson County is certainly no different.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here's another question that's come in from Jennifer. Thank you, Jennifer. And it says, how is funding for your programs at this stage? Mike can share a little bit and then maybe join in with me. It's amazing. Jefferson County is a very generous group of people. And the Action Center is really fortunate to have a lot of people that understand that what we do is essential to a lot of people. And so we have received wonderful support from the community, both individuals, some local businesses, and foundations have absolutely stepped up to the plate to help make sure that we have the funds that we need to provide the food service, provide the rent and utility. But and also they've been very generous to help us pay for the lights. We need to keep the lights on, right? And so operating funds have come in, and we've been very fortunate to, during this fairly challenging time, to have the funds we need to not miss a beat, to not turn a single person away that's come to the Action Center for services and programs.
Yeah. Again, I would say that's really true. We've been gratified by the kind of support that's coming in right now in response to COVID. I would also say that, we're hoping that it's not a trade-off with our typical giving. We need the funding to stay steady throughout the year. And so there's always sort of that worry about what comes next. But right now we are really happy to say that we have been able to meet the growing need. And that's because of folks like you who are really helping out. So thank you again.
Right. Jennifer has kind of a follow-up question. And she's asking is really what are the greatest needs around food that we need people to help us with? And so I think that's a really helpful because we do need food to keep going across our dock and be donated to us.
Absolutely. And we need food drives in the community. So every year we have the Stamp Out Hunger food drive that the post office runs for us. And it really helps us to get through the summer and the fall months. We didn't have that this year. And so a lot of the food purchases that we're having to make are for those non-perishable food items that really help to fill out the fresh food boxes that we're putting into cars. And so those are things like pasta sauce, rice, cereal, peanut butter, tuna fish, all of those things that really help people stretch their food budgets and get through the month when the fresh food runs out. So those are the really critical things that we would love to have donated on our dock right now.
Yeah, I was at Sam's the other day and I saw a can of peanut butter. And it was literally this tall.
Yeah.
And I thought, by the time I got to the bottom, it's up to my elbow. I didn't get the peanut butter out of the bottom. But it was there. So,
that's quite a problem, John.
Yeah, go to Sam's, buy the tank of peanut butter. We'll figure out how to put it to use. Another question that came in, this one's kind of interesting as well. This one is from Amy. And Amy is asking us, what is the Action Center's response to the state's mask mandate?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, as you can see, we are all wearing masks at the Action Center, and we have been since the very beginning of this crisis. So while the mask mandate across the state is new, it's nothing new here at the Action Center. The staff are all wearing masks. The volunteers are all wearing masks. The participants coming through the car lines are sometimes wearing masks and sometimes not. We can't control that piece, but we here on our property, anyone volunteering and anyone on the staff are remaining very safe, keeping socially distant, and washing our hands all the time and doing everything we can to keep our community safe.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's important for us all to kind of get on board with that, and let's get this COVID thing done and over with, so we can move back to other ways of serving folks.
Yep.
Well, before I close up, we're kind of coming up. Oh, one quick one just came in. Thank you, Connie. Appreciate you jumping in. Connie says, are we accepting office volunteer roles?
Office volunteer roles. Yes, we are always accepting volunteers of all kinds. That need has not stopped. We have had fewer volunteers than usual, but we still have a lot of need, and we're making sure that we are kind of spacing out the volunteers and their shifts so that not too many people are here at any one time, but we have needs across the board in all different areas. So if you have an interest in volunteering and a particular skill set you'd like to share with us, please reach out. Tell us what you'd like to do here, and I know we can find the right place for you.
Fabulous. Yep, we love our volunteers. We have over 4,000 volunteers every year that typically help the Action Center provide the programs and services that we do for our participants. And so, we really need volunteers on a continual basis. So check out the website, and you'll be happy to see there's lots of volunteer opportunities you can sign up for. Well, listen, before I close up our time, we're kind of coming up to our 30-minute time. We wanted to keep this right at 30 minutes. But before I close, is there anything else you'd like to share, Pam?
I just want to say thank you again. We couldn't do what we do without all of you, and we would love to hear your feedback. If you have additional questions, please email either John or myself. My email is pbreier, B-R-I-E-R, @theactioncenter.org. John can share his as well. We want to be in communication with you. You can feel free to give us a call too. We'd love to have a conversation. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, I'm the fundraiser. I like to talk to people. I don't mind you emailing me at johnc@theactioncenter, but you know what? Give me a call. I'm just trying to talk to people. I really miss the interaction that has been in the past. But as we close up, let me just also share with you that on a monthly basis, we send out a general informational newsletter that comes out. And I would just encourage you to open that up and check that out, because it really will help you see what we're doing with the donations that you provide us on a regular basis. It's really important. That's one of our best ways to communicate with you. But also, we're going to try to continue to do these fireside chats on a fairly regular basis, maybe monthly, maybe bi-monthly. But again, it's a great way for us to just connect with you, to let you know what we're doing, what's happening at the Action Center. It's going to be a variety of topics, so it's always going to be interesting, hopefully somewhat entertaining. So, tell folks, you don't have to be a donor to come and join in one of our virtual fireside chats. So please, tell somebody about this, and it will help us grow our audience to even be bigger. Because we just want to tell people what's happening here, let them know what the needs of our community are, and let them know the different ways that you can support your community to help people just get a little bit further on down the road. So again, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate you. And again, if you have any other questions, email, call us, and we'll be happy to address those as quickly as possible. So thank you very much for being here.
Thank you so much. We will see you again soon.
Yep. Have a great day, folks. Bye-bye.
Bye.